Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, joined this fine Thursday evening by Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, yes, I know not all is fine in the world, and this evening it's finest. Fineness? I don't know the word, but whatever. I'm not good with
All you're
words.
doing is making me think of the Peyton commercial,
Yeah,
which absolutely drives me up a wall. I
I
hate
like
that
it.
commercial so much.
I like it. I like it. I think it's really good.
I like the concept. The
Yeah.
concept amuses me, but the execution of good Peyton, are you saying Peyton or Peyton? Who cares? They're both you.
Yes. You are Peyton, one in the same. But if you are a Royals fan, one in the same, you should go check out royalsreview.com for all the news, analysis, and commentary you need on all things Kansas City Royals. Go find it over at royalsreview.com. So, Jeremy, unfortunately, I talk about Kansas City Royals news. Not a whole lot of news to talk about right now. We're in this weird dry spell that is the MLB offseason right now. That is okay. Things will pick up, I am sure, once the meetings start.
I just realized there's one roster move we haven't talked about.
What's that?
Evan Sisk got added to the 40-man roster.
Hey, that's right. That is right. The lefty reliever who is absolutely dominant in Omaha for the Royals. Deserved a promotion much earlier this year, is now on the 40-man roster because he was set to become a minor league free agent. So the Royals decided to do something there. Speaking of transactions regarding the minor leagues, we should probably talk about the other notable minor league free agents that are currently available from the Royals system.
Okay.
Nate Eaton, Austin Cox.
No, not
I
Nate
know.
Eaton.
Yeah, I listen. You know me and Nate Eaton. Okay,
He's one of my faves.
I'll love him. I hope that he finds a good opportunity out there.
Maybe the A's will give him a job.
Maybe so. Devin Mann, who is kind of a super utility guy that we were hopeful would crack the roster.
I fully 100% believed when the Royals traded for him that he would play first base
Thought he
within a
would.
week of being traded for, because they didn't remember Vinny Pasquantino was hurt for most of 2023 when they acquired him. They didn't have anyone to play first base except for Nick Pratto, who was terrible. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, all right, you got Devin Mann. He's not young. He's not a real prospect, but give him a shot, see what happens. They did not.
Nope.
Ever.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ryan Fitzgerald, he was a minor league Rule 5 draft pick from the Red Sox last year. He did solid for Omaha, but just not enough to crack the roster. Josh Lester, a Missouri product,
They
formerly.
just signed him last year, didn't they?
Yeah, I think he was with the Orioles before last year.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
just remember it being like people were talking about him because he had been a former Missouri Tiger when the Royals got him.
right. And I mean, you know what? I had all my qualms about Jorge Bonifacio being the older guy in AA. Lester is a 30-year-old guy who hit pretty well for the AA Northwest Arkansas Naturals. One moment, Jeremy. Yes.
Say go Royals.
Thank you, Emma.
I told her that we could say it, and then we'd have to go back in.
Okay. Thank you, Emma. Love you, Emma. Let's see here. Okay. Back at it. There gonna be some guys that you're expected to move on from the minor league system. One of the guys that's probably the most surprising is Diego Hernandez. He was a former top 30 prospect with the Royals. He made the 40-man roster ahead of 2023, but then he suffered that dislocated shoulder in spring training that same year, and that just really kind of derailed his baseball career as a whole, which was really unfortunate. And then the last guy that I think of is big note is Rodolfo Duran. He was a guy that I wrote about for Kings of Kaufman saying, hey,
I
they should
remember.
look at adding him to the 40-man roster. But unfortunately, the 26-year-old is now a free agent. He did pretty well at the plate. He looks solid behind the dish. So I'm sure he's going to find an opportunity elsewhere.
Maybe the Royals will re-sign him. They have 3 guys who are featured in some top 100s that are all catchers in Carter Jensen and Blake Mitchell, and I always forget the third guy's name, but I know he's there.
Ramon Ramirez.
Ramon Ramirez. How can I forget that name? Ramon Ramirez. It's Ram Ram.
Ram Ram.
I'm
Yep.
just going to call him Ram Ram from now
Bam
on.
Bam Ram Ram.
Ram Ram. So it's like, well, you could go, oh, well, they don't need any catching prospects. Look at all those catching prospects. Well, somebody needs to back up Salvador Perez this year because I don't think it's going to be Freddie Fermin.
Yeah.
And then somebody's going to have to back those guys up. Salvador Perez is not going to play forever.
Nope. He is not, and it's definitely we talk about all that talent. Well, they're prospects, okay? They're not ready to start in AAA in 2023, especially you can make the case that Jensen might be, but Mitchell certainly isn't. Ramirez certainly isn't. There needs to be a hierarchy. And that's one reason why Austin Nola was with this organization for so long this past year. Even though he wasn't very good, he had MLB experience and could go in a pinch.
And somebody has got to catch all those pitching prospects.
Yes, precisely. And you want experienced catchers who are polished behind the dish, making your pitching look good, makes them feel good too, believe it or not.
Somebody who knows when to tip off the other team to the pitcher's pitches, not because he wants to go home, because he's tired of playing baseball, but because he knows that the pitcher needs his ego brought down a level or two before he gets to the big leagues.
Yes, very true. Very true.
Bull Durham. Bull Durham.
Yep. Hey, speaking of egos, the team on the other side of Missouri, the St. Louis Cardinals, certainly had their ego brought down in 2024, but they have to be feeling good today after they got a big boost in the broadcasting sector. They reached a multi-year agreement with Diamond Sports Group to continue airing their games there. Now, if you don't know who Diamond Sports Group is, it was formerly Bally. Now it is the FanDuel Sports Network. FanDuel took over the naming rights for Diamond's 16 regional sports networks last month after it had been Bally since 2021. So listen, we don't know the amount, we don't know the length, but it's nice to see that this is happening. Diamond Sports Group was very non-committal about broadcasting MLB games outside of the Braves. They're big moneymaker, but there's about a dozen other teams out there that are affected by what they decide to do in the broadcast sector. So the Cardinals, who they're a notable, they have brand recognition, right? But they're not one of the top tier markets out there. So that has to feel good for the Kansas City Royals on if they will get a deal done with Diamond Sports Group. But we'll see what happens and see if we're watching Royals games on FanDuel.
One of the most notable things, I think, from that announcement is that they will be offering, at least for the Cardinals, a direct-to-consumer option. So you do not have to necessarily purchase a cable or satellite package to get access to it. You can just buy a straight from them Cardinals package.
Okay. All right, I wouldn't complain about that one bit. I like that.
So that's moving in that direction that we were talking about of streaming ability within markets that we've been looking for.
Yes. And speaking of FanDuel, who they make their buku bucks thanks to sports gambling, Missouri residents, now you can partake. I know that
can they immediately? Is there no waiting period?
Well, let me pull up some of the what's it called? Actual facts about what is going. Yeah,
no one wants facts, Jacob.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. So hey, listen, Missouri
My
voters
don't care about your facts.
Ooh, spicy. So hey, what this is all coming from is Amendment 2, which was on the ballot on Election Day, passing by the skin of its teeth. 50.1% of the vote supporting Amendment 2, about 7,500 votes. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Every vote counts.
Yeah.
When it comes to sports betting and legalizing that.
So, Amendment 2 becomes state law 30 days after the election. The Missouri Gaming Commission has until December 1st, 2025 to roll out legal sports betting at casino sports books and on mobile gaming apps statewide. It feels like this isn't that massive of a deal, I would say, because Missouri's kind of two population centers border a state where sports betting is legal. So it wasn't that crazy for folks to drive to, say, Kansas to place a sports bet, or drive to Illinois if you're in St. Louis to place a sports bet. But now Missouri itself is getting in on the
Find out if,
action. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
well, would it? I don't know.
I mean, Jeremy, we've made our opinions known on sports betting, some of the fun parts of it, some of the dangerous parts of it. Like, what do you think about it gaining more accessibility?
I I'm a I'm this is very much a do as I say, not as I do moment, because I do sports bet. I do. Um that said, the way I sports bet is I signed up for DraftKings, got my free $200. I don't even know if they still do that, of bonus bets, put it all on the Royals to do things that I did not expect the Royals to do, got lucky, and I just continued to bet those winnings. I have not put a single actual dollar of my own money into sports betting, and I have told all my friends to tell me I'm not allowed to, because gambling is addictive, and everybody knows it, and they're relying on it, even as they're like putting, oh, here's we call these numbers and we'll put in these things to warn you not to do it. And like, yeah, but I'm sure I can undo that if I want to, at which point, like, this isn't actually it's a barrier, which is nice, but it's not a full barrier. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah,
It makes it a
precisely.
little bit harder. And that's only if you opt into that, which you don't have to. I've seen studies that show that the people who do the most sports betting are the people with the least amount of money. And of course, the house always wins. That's why why does FanDuel own these TV networks? Because they have a lot of money, so they could afford to buy it.
Yep,
And why do they
can
have a lot
afford
of
to buy
money?
the
Because
naming
they
rights.
win. The house wins.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. Gambling doesn't work as a business if the house doesn't win more often than it loses. And they hire all the smartest people to make sure that continues to be true, even though you think you're going to outsmart them. And my forays into sports gambling have proved to me time and time again that, setting aside the Royals 2024 season, I do not know more than the people who come up with the odds. Okay, I don't. I regularly lose.
Same here.
I
Same
just
here.
am betting a couple dollars at a time so that I can keep playing without running out of fake money to play. I hate it. I hate what it does to it. Encourages also people to I'm sorry, I'm on a soapbox. I was like, I don't have anything to say about this when you said we were
Now
going
you
to
do.
talk about it.
Now you do.
Apparently I did. We knew people were already making death threats towards players because of fantasy sports. Famously, I believe it was Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens got a death threat because he didn't run for enough yards in a game. And
The only
the
reason
death
he's getting
threats
death
have
threats.
only increased with real money on the line.
Yeah, precisely.
It's insane how people behave over this stuff. And in a way, I think it takes some of the fun out of it. I know that some people look at it as like, well, now I have a reason to watch a Thursday night football tonight, Ravens and Bengals. Who cares about that's a bad game. The Bengals suck this year. So they're like, well, if I bet on the game, then I have a reason to watch it. But I know, like, I bet one week that the Chiefs were going to win and Travis Kelce was going to get a touchdown. Now, betting on the Chiefs winning, that doesn't get you much money because everyone expects that to happen.
Correct. Yeah.
So I had to add in something else to be like, okay, now I'm going to actually make money if it works. Travis Kelce didn't catch a touchdown. A little disappointed. The Chiefs won. My team won.
But you're
But
still
the guy
disappointed.
didn't catch a touchdown, so now I'm not as happy as I could have been if I just watched the game and enjoyed a win. So it's very much a double-edged sword, and I'm usually like a fan of, let people do what they want. I hate like the Sunday dry counties or plain dry counties.
Yeah.
I hate the marijuana bans. But then when it comes to sports gambling, I'm like, I come around the other end, and I don't know. I feel like sports gambling has been shown to harm people more than marijuana has. That I don't have the numbers right now, so you take that with a grain of salt for absolute certain. But that's how I feel, and so that's how I react to it.
Yeah, what were we talking about facts and feelings earlier on? But
Exactly, Jacob.
listen, I do think that for better or for worse, sports betting is going to be, and its effects on society is going to be something that we're going to know a lot more about 10 years down the line after all the damage has already been done and there's nothing that we could do to change about it. If you need a positive from this, Jeremy, Amendment 2 does require, quote, I'm quoting this, requires tax revenue to go to the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Proponents claim it could raise more than $100 million in the first 5 years.
That's what the proponents claim, but proponents of stadiums claim that they'll bring in such and such amount of money that never happens. So I would
Right.
be curious to hear what the opposition thinks.
Yeah.
How much money they think it might bring in.
Which I think I think those are pretty bullish. That would be
Mm-hmm.
a very bullish outlook because you go look at Kansas, which legalized sports betting a little more than 2 years ago. Like the state has raised quote unquote $20 million in that 2-year span. So that rate does not line up in my mind, but of course there are a few more people in Missouri than there are in Kansas. So I'm sure someone smarter than me made that outlook, but we'll just see. I'm just excited to hear Rex Hudler talking about the over/under line for a Kansas City Royals
Please
game.
don't make my boy Rex do that. Please don't make him do that. I don't want that.
Look at how they massacred my boy.
Can you imagine
Goodness.
Denny Matthews giving you the over under?
I
And go to FanDuel right now and you can bet on a prop on whether the next pitch will be a ball or a strike. If you're
hey,
right, you get an extra $25.
I
Imagine Denny Matthews delivering that promo.
for sure. For sure. I wish I could be a fly on the wall when they get the news of how this is going to affect their broadcast every single day. Like, hey, well, we signed this deal with FanDuel Sports Network, so guess what we're talking about a lot. FanDuel betting.
You know, Bally's was a casino sportsbook thing, wasn't it? I don't remember them doing
Yeah.
odds for that.
So they didn't do odds for that. You're right. But I never watched a Bally broadcast when they were in a state where the primary audience could bet on their team.
Mm,
So I think maybe these two factors, which are very
mm-hmm,
separate,
mm-hmm,
coming together at the same time can cause
mm,
some.
mm-hmm.
But
Could.
it could. I'm not saying it will. It could though. It could also definitely affect the stadium negotiations. I
Yeah,
will
I would
say,
think that would be part of the negotiations for sure.
yeah.
We'll let you have we'll give you a couple million more of what we promised you if you let us start advertising odds or you start advertising odds for us during the broadcast. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So we shall wait and see. But Jeremy, today, as we're already 20 minutes in, most of what we want to talk about today are some free agent outfielders. Now, we have spoken on the podcast before about the position groups. If you want our group by group breakdowns, go find it in your podcast feed before this episode. But we both really agree that one of the positions the Royals cannot miss on investing in this offseason is the outfield. They had a very decisive approach when it came to the rotation in 2023. And much like Chiefs general manager Brett Veach will focus on one position and go all in an offseason, I would hope the Kansas City Royals would do so with the outfield. Jeremy, before I get some of your broad ideas on this approach, I do want to talk about one development with the outfielders. It's not really like a late breaking development or
Okay.
anything like that. It is more of, it was fun to talk about like last week about like, oh, well, the Royals could go get so and so or they can go get so and so, but then qualifying offers were placed on players and Juan Soto getting qualifying offer. Not that surprising. Not a shock. But then you go and you got Teoscar Hernandez getting a qualifying offer, and then Anthony Santander got a qualifying offer. In my mind, that should take them off the Royals' radar immediately. But like, do you disagree?
I do disagree.
Okay.
I think that the value of it's a second or third round pick. I cannot remember which.
It's a high pick.
Is I feel like they don't turn into anything all that often necessarily. Like once you get out of the first few picks of the first round, it's a crapshoot. No one has any idea what
Yeah.
they're doing, and you'll end up sure some second rounders might have slightly better odds than a third or a fourth rounder, whatever, but not that great. And if you could turn around and say, well, we got one of the best power hitting outfielders on the market, and the Royals would absolutely have to sign those guys if they got either of them to a multi-year deal. And we know he's going to be, anchoring our lineup for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think that that's still worth it.
Okay. All right.
Plus,
so
they're going to get an extra pick from Bobby Witt Jr. So
that's fair.
you end up kind of evening out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's how it goes. If the team that loses the player is a revenue sharing recipient based on its revenues or market size, then the selection, if and only if the lost player signs for at least $50 million. So let's say Anthony
those two guys
Santander.
will.
Yep. So Anthony Santander goes and signs for like 70 plus million somewhere. The Orioles will be awarded a pick between the first round and competitive balance round A. So like that's that 30 to 40 range. If a player signs for less than 50 million, the compensation pick for those teams would come after competitive balance round B, which follows the second round. So I'm probably overvaluing the draft pick.
That's when the team gets a pick that lost a player. When does the team lose a pick that signed him?
I'm very sorry. I was looking at that. I was looking at that the wrong way. Excuse me. Let's see here. A team that receives revenue sharing money will lose its third highest selection in the following year's draft. If it signs 2 such players, it will also forfeit its 4th highest pick. So, I mean, Jeremy, let's say they get that extra pick from Bobby Witt Jr. If that's in competitive balance round A, then they're losing their 2nd round pick. I mean, like they could be losing out.
Moving their 2nd round pick up and having a second first round pick, kind of.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. It doesn't have a detrimental impact. They still would have a great pick from Bobby Witt Jr. and his talent, and maybe that's a gamble they're willing to take because of that.
Royals have shown a willingness to trade the one draft pick they are allowed to trade.
Yeah.
So I think they should show a willingness to sacrifice a 2nd or 3rd round pick to get the guy that they want for their outfield.
Okay. And that here, I know you want to talk about some of the broad ideas, but I do want to start off with this. Looking at the overall outfield group, they're outside of Soto, none of these guys are like franchise saving players. Like these
Royals don't need their franchise to be saved anymore.
Right, they do kind of need their lineup to be saved.
They need a star. There are stars out there that aren't superstars.
Okay.
I mean, Juan Soto is an MVP, absolutely, and the Royals are probably not in on him. But the guys that I'm looking at, and I'm looking only at stars basically,
okay,
are Anthony Santander, Teoscar Hernandez, Jurickson Profar, Michael Conforto. That's pretty much my entire list.
Okay.
Now, Michael Conforto would not be a star. Jurickson Profar probably not a star. But they didn't get qualifying offers. So those are probably the 2 guys that I think make the most sense for the Royals. The thing about Jurickson Profar is that he is 31.
Yes.
And he'll be 32 next year. And he has one maybe concern for some people is that he does have kind of an even odd thing going where his odd years are not good and next year will be an odd year for him. Not as good. But at the same time, that can't be real, can it? It can't be.
I don't know. It's been real across his entire career.
And there are people who are like, well, don't get him. He's hit really well for the first time in his entire career last year. Well, yeah, he hit for power. What he did last year that he hadn't really done prior to that was hit for power. Well, he hadn't done since 2018, 2019. He hit for power. And the thing about that is that he walks at an elite rate and doesn't strike out very much. So if you're signing Jurickson Profar, and this is the reason the Royals probably aren't going to get him, is because he probably is going to get paid by somebody like that power is for real. And I don't think you should pay him necessarily like that. I am not in the business of A, predicting contracts, or B, telling the Royals what they can or cannot afford. I do not know what their budget is. I do know they have a billionaire owner, so they could, I mean, by the widest definition of afford, they could afford any of these players, even Juan Soto. So I'm not going to get into all that, but Jurickson Profar is a guy that if you're talking about value for dollars spent, you don't want to pay him like he hit all those home runs and that he's going to continue to do that, because I don't think you can count on that. But he would be a really intriguing guy to lead off with his ability to walk, and he's not fast, but he's not incredibly slow either. Now, Michael Conforto, I think, is a guy that we really ought to look hard at.
Okay.
Because I think he's probably the most interesting guy. Do you have any thoughts about Conforto before I start talking about how I've fallen in love with him?
So I think my biggest thought on Conforto is he fits the profile that I think the Kansas City Royals need to address the most. They need an outfielder who can hit left-handed pitching. I support having Kyle Isbell out there every single day in the 9-hole. The defensive value is there, but he can't hit lefties very well. MJ Melendez, we know the potential, but he can't hit lefties. He didn't do so in 2024 at least. So if we want to keep Melendez around at the major league level, then you need to go out there and sign a guy who could be a platoon corner outfielder. Like that is.
I disagree with that assessment, but go on.
Disagree with that?
I think they've already got his platoon partner,
Hunter Renfroe.
I think you're looking for a guy who plays the outfield every day, and then Melendez and Renfroe platoon.
So then let me back up and say this. Michael Conforto, I would not be comfortable with him going out there and being the opening day left fielder.
Why is that?
I wouldn't like it. I don't like his glove in the outfield. He's a below average fielder in the outfield.
Okay.
He doesn't strike out a ton, but he strikes out a little more than the average bear. Power is there, but I mean he's across his entire career he's been an above average hitter. So I'm not gonna have issues with it, but this is far from like a surefire success story in Kansas City. Does that make sense?
I guess. So first of all, you said you want a guy who can hit lefties.
Yes,
Conforto has reverse splits.
Yes, he does.
He hits lefties better than righties.
Correct. Much better.
So that takes care of that, I think.
Yes, it does.
And then, he hasn't hit as many home runs the last couple of years playing for the Giants. Whatever the name of their stadium is that they play in now, Oracle, PNC, I don't know.
Forget it, yeah.
The right center dimensions are insane. It is really hard to hit home runs there as a left-handed hitter. And he still hit 20 of them. So I went and looked, and his numbers would look a lot better in the AL Central, even in Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah,
he would hit more home runs if he played every game in Kauffman than if he played every game in San Francisco. I also looked at his Baseball Savant page. Lots of red on there.
Yeah.
He does swing and miss a little bit. He does strike out a little bit. Doesn't walk as much as you want, but when he does make contact, he hits it hard. And like you said, he's been an above average hitter for most of his career. I didn't realize quite how much of an above average hitter he's been. And I think he's going to be far more affordable for the other than anyone else who is as good as he is.
There is one intangible on the financial side that I am getting hung up on.
What's that?
Scott Boras represents him.
I don't care.
That's
for the Royals to figure out.
There's only one Royals player represented by Boras. There's only one. And
Who's
it's
that?
MJ Melendez.
Okay.
I don't know if the front office wants to deal with Boris.
They're professionals. They could deal with Boris. I promise.
I'm not saying they can't, just saying it might not be a preference.
Well, this is the guy. When I look at the list of free agent outfielders, if you're going to go after a free agent outfielder, that's the guy.
I think that's the guy that you go out and you sign for a 1-2 year deal and see what happens. So what do you think about a big swing on Tyler O'Neill? The former
I
Cardinals player is going to be very popular amongst fans.
I think Tyler O'Neill is going to get paid like he just had the season he had in Boston. I don't think that that's the Tyler O'Neill you're getting.
No, I don't think so either, because if you go and you look at the production that he had and then compare it against some of the very concerning aspects of said performance here, I had all these numbers pulled up. Give me 1 second. Now, I brought up O'Neill because he fits the profile that we need, a batter who hits left-handed pitching. He had a 313 batting average against lefties in 2024. And then also, it's pretty dang hard to ignore a 31 home run season from him, but he struck out at 33.6% of the time. And
So many strikeouts.
So many. Very, I'm not going to say he was like a three true outcome guy, but he walked at an 11% rate, hit 30 dingers, and then struck out at a 33% rate. Like that's pretty close to a TTO guy at the major league level that you're going to see starting more than 100 games. That's also another thing. He only has 1 season or 2 seasons now where he's played in more than 100 games. So I don't know if he could be your everyday outfielder for a franchise out there.
Another big red flag for me. His batting average last year was 246, that's solid in the modern MLB. His expected batting average,
Ooh, it was bad.
218.
Yeah.
Among the worst in qualified hitters, 8th percentile.
Man, that's bad.
And the whiff percentage and the strikeout percentage also among the worst. That when I'm looking for consistency in my lineup, because remember, that's the goal here more than anything, is to add some consistency to this lineup.
Yeah.
He does not bring that to me.
I cannot disagree with you, because there was a reason why he was, what's it called? Why the Cardinals were willing to trade him away. He had that potential, but man, he just was not reaching it there in St. Louis. So, and he's probably going to be a guy that goes out there and he gets paid like $15 to $17 million annually at the very least. And, we saw how that worked out for the Chicago White Sox with Andrew Benintendi, who had a career year in Kansas City and New York and hasn't done jack since.
He actually wasn't all that good once they traded him to New York either.
No, he wasn't. He was pretty good in Kauffman Stadium. That's about it.
You'd think New York would be done with Red Sox outfielders by now, perhaps.
You would think so. You'd think so. But no, not anymore. There are a couple of other names that I want us to take off the board, and I have my own reasons. Jock Peterson, he's going to show up as an outfielder. That man's designated hitter only.
Yeah, I'm looking at the MLB free agents by position list, and he's a DH there.
Yeah, he is DH only. Alex Verdugo, I get it. He played for the Yankees. He was not very consistent for the Yankees there.
He's batting 9th.
Yeah.
We're not looking for a number 9 hitter.
No. We are right now. I'm looking for a leadoff, or I am looking for a elite cleanup hitter. And I think the guy that can be the leadoff is a guy that you listed off earlier, Jurickson Profar. I think that's a big gamble, though. It really is. After what, he was like nearly a -2 WAR player in 2023, and then he had an all-star year in 2024.
Yeah.
So is there like
I have a hard time believing he's going to be available too. He just has kept going back to San Diego. It feels like he'll probably just go back again.
Yeah. I don't know if he would. Well, I think that door would be open. Okay, they signed him for what, $1 million in 2024, but I think he's going to get paid, and I don't know what the Padres payroll situation is looking like right now. Otto and Tatis, like they got some big contracts and they don't really have the postseason wins to show for it right now. So, but I like him in Kansas City. I really, really do. I think you go and you give him a 2-3 year deal, have it be about double digits annually, and see what happens.
Feels like it would be one of the riskiest
It would.
of the 5 outfielders that I like. That feels like the riskiest.
It is. It is, unfortunately. But that's the range that they're in right now, unfortunately, because I think that Teoscar Hernandez and Santander and Soto are kind of the only quote unquote sure things out of the everyday outfielders.
I think Conforto's a pretty sure thing to be who he has been.
Okay.
He's not at their level. He's not at Hernandez level. And Hernandez isn't necessarily a sure thing either. He had a monster year after signing a 1 year deal. You don't sign a 1 year deal if everyone thinks you're a sure thing.
Yeah.
So he had a monster year last year, but I don't know if he continues to do that. Michael Conforto has been remarkably consistent in his career.
He has.
When you look at those numbers, I did not realize how good he has been. He has not gotten really kind of any recognition for his talents. I get that you don't like his defense, but he's going to be replacing MJ Melendez out there. He's not that much worse than MJ Melendez.
True. Going in on Profar a little bit more on why I liked him. You brought up some of the expected statistics in other players that we've talked about. Profar's batting average this year, 280. Great, especially in modern baseball. His expected batting average was 283. So he was underperforming there a little bit. His slugging and his expected slugging nearly matched up. Overall, it's not very often that you see a player perform the same as their expected statistics. He just about did that. Plus, he does not swing and miss a lot at the plate. And that is something that he has consistently gotten better at in his career. So I mean, he's 31 years old. He's going to be 32 on opening day. I think there's something there, and I think that he draws enough walks too to be a good leadoff option in Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, if like I said, if you sign Profar, first of all, Profar's outfield defense isn't great either.
No, it's not good either. Listen, I am cherry picking facts, Jeremy. Okay, jeez.
But he does walk a lot. Again, I don't think you trust that power to be there. So I think he would be the leadoff guy. With the he had a 380 OBP this year, which is just absolutely unreal in the current era. I grew up in an era where 380 was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Now it's just like, holy cow, 380. And then, but before that, it was in the 320s, 330s, which is still, I mean, that's solid. But again, my issue is that I think he's probably, I know I said I don't get in the game of what is the Royals budget, but I do think he's probably going to be outside of their budget.
Okay.
Whereas I think Conforto probably fits it a little bit better. I think Profar is going to get paid almost as much as Hernandez and Santander.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially because he doesn't come with the qualifying offer.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, see,
he's going to be more attractive to everybody. He's going to be the top guy on a lot of people's list because they don't want to pay that draft pick.
Okay.
Which is one reason why maybe the Royals should be looking at Hernandez and Santander and being like, that last year they were willing to spend while everybody else was holding back. So if the Royals are willing to say, all right, we want to really improve here, we can get one of these elite guys because other people aren't driving that price up as much because they're afraid of the draft pick compensation. We're willing to make that sacrifice.
Okay. And it would, I don't know. Now you got me thinking about Hernandez because I think that would be the guy that I prefer over Santander.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
It's whether you look at hey, he knows what it's like to win a World Series. He knows what it's like to win in the postseason period. Coming from the Dodgers. Plus, if the Dodgers are the primary team that he wants to go back to, well, they might be locked up a little bit if they want to see if they could bring Juan Soto into the fold as well, because that's been a rumored team that the superstar is linked to. There is I'm looking down this list, and I'm seeing there's going to be guys like, Harrison Bader. He's a good MLB outfielder, not what the Kansas City Royals need right now. Max Kepler, no. Ahmed Rosario, no. Jason Hayward, no.
Kepler would probably be my next choice after Conforto.
You think so?
If you're looking at I think if you're not getting at least a Conforto, you're probably looking to trade. But Kepler would be my guy after Conforto if you were like, we can only go free agent for whatever reason.
Yeah. And for this exercise, I have a guy that not a whole lot of people are going to love, and I had to squint and convince myself. But I
before
think
you say that, I just want to throw out one more time. I just pulled up the Baseball Savant pages for Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander, and Michael Conforto. Who had the most red?
Probably Michael Conforto.
Yeah. Santander is a lot. He doesn't have any glaring weaknesses, not really bad blues, but he's not a lot of red either. Very gray.
Good. Okay.
And then Teoscar Hernandez is just if he doesn't hit it hard, if he doesn't crush it, it's not helpful. Fair enough. If you're, again, what I want more than anything is consistency. I think Conforto's in the price range that I'm just going to sit on Conforto. That's where I'm at. So give me your guy.
Well, this is, when I say my guy, I think this is a guy that is reasonable, that can be a complimentary offseason addition. Like, let's say the Royals wanted to go all in on a third baseman. You still need to add at least something to the outfield. And I think a guy that we can squint and say this is a good platoon option is Mark Kanya.
All right.
He's not going to be super popular. He did played in a good amount of games in 2024, 125, only had a 1 FWAR season, but he's still an above average hitter. He does very, very well against lefties. Yes, I did you pull up his Baseball Savant page?
Yeah.
I don't like that face, Jeremy. I don't like it one bit.
It's not good,
It's
man.
not good. Dang. All right.
18th percentile X WOBA, 6th percentile X batting average, 2nd percentile X slug. He's already 35.
Yes, he is. And what I was trying to say is, like, he's not a guy you come in, you sign for multiple years. Like, you sign him for a Garrett Hampson level contract and see what he gives you. I think the Royals have to add folks in that range too, and the outfield might be the spot to do it in.
I want better than Mark Canha if I'm adding to this roster. You've already got Hunter Renfroe and MJ Melendez. You don't need.
All right. I don't know. Now you got me stuck on Michael Conforto.
I'm telling you. I'm looking up Renfroe's numbers now too.
Yeah, to compare them all.
So I can compare them to Canha. Yeah, pretty similar to Canha.
Yeah.
Honestly, a little bit like blue in all the same places, not quite as bad.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I still really like Jesse Winker, but I don't think they go get Jesse Winker.
I've never been a big Winker fan.
Yeah.
I think I've also, if I'm remembering correctly, he's had some like clubhouse fit issues. Yeah, he's got a lot of blue too.
Yeah, I bet. So, I mean, maybe that's the under the radar. You go sign Conforto for 2-3 years, see what happens. Like, that's I don't see an outfield addition that the Royals probably make that is like, hang your hat on it, do it for the better part of a decade. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really out there outside of Juan Soto.
I'm trying to look up. I know I saw the free agent rumors. I wanted to see what they would think Conforto's going to go for.
Well, look up Spot Track. If I recall correctly, I think his Spot Track market value was somewhere in like the $5.5 million.
I like the MLB trade rumors.
Okay.
Website. Gotcha. Let me see if they've got Conforto on here. They do. They think 2 years, 18 would get you Conforto. I was thinking 340. So you're talking, yeah. If you can get him 218, 330, like 330 would still be more than that because you're adding an extra year and extra annual average value. Mm-hmm. I would, if the Royals got Conforto for 330, I would take that in a heartbeat. I'd be like, yep, that's a good signing.
Yeah.
Now go trade for a third baseman.
Yeah.
Or sign Gleyber Torres. How much is Gleyber Torres going for? I still think he could play third base. 2 years, 36. So twice the price for Gleyber Torres. Would you rather have Gleyber Torres? Michael Conforto.
I'd rather have Michael Conforto.
Right. And at half the price. Yeah. So get both of them. Then Torres is a righty who can lead off, and Conforto fills out the middle of your lineup. I think that would work, but we'll see what happens, I guess. We'll talk more about Torres and other guys when we get to the infielders, probably.
For sure. And you would think that it's a lot easier to go out there and find like an on-base primary guy. In today's baseball landscape, it's not. Like, there's a reason why Luis Ariz was so valuable, because he's a unicorn in that area. So it's, I don't know, I just really...
And he does it all with batting average, which is why no one keeps him.
Yeah, because that can fluctuate, as we saw in the second half of the season with the San Diego Padres. Jeremy, any closing thoughts on the outfield, man?
It's just it's not as strong, probably a strong free agent class in the outfield as you might have thought. After Soto, there's literally questions about everyone.
Yeah.
Even Teoscar Hernandez and Anthony Santander, which I think everyone was like, yeah, of course they got qualifying offers. Or at least, well, I think everyone thought Hernandez would get one. I don't know if everyone thought Santander would get one, but I think they were also like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But there are questions about every single outfielder out there. I would be very surprised if the Royals go get one of the top ones. I thought Teoscar Hernandez or Anthony Santander might be on their radar before we started looking at these numbers, just to make a phone call, see if you can figure it out. But I don't think they're even going to really be on the radar now, because they're going to get too much money for the questions.
Yeah.
And so I think that it makes a lot more sense to play, if not with Conforto, then in that range of, we'll spend real money, but not like we've got to have it money.
Right. And hey, you know what? I bring up the on-base stuff. If you want to go read about some on-base options amongst the free agent class for the Kansas City Royals, go check out royalsreview.com. The latest from Max details some solid options, whether it be infielders, outfielders, any player profile Max takes a look at in this article, but it's only at royalsreview.com. You can also follow Royals Review on social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, or Threads. It's worth a follow. Go check out Royals Review on social media. Jeremy, I don't have anything else. You ready for some Royals Review reviews?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, I am going to start off just with a glowing ray of positivity. I just finished up a book called Poverty by America, authored by Matthew Desmond. When it comes to my reading reviews, I talk about digestibility a lot in this podcast. This is a smaller book, but man, it's a tough pill to swallow. Reading about this reality and Desmond, what he's seen in it, the research that he has done, and his findings from it. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner. He won it for his book called Evicted a few years back. So he does high quality work. Go check out Poverty by America. The audiobook is about 6 hours long. So, Jeremy, on to you.
Man, poverty. Good stuff. Not good. The opposite of good stuff is poverty.
Sarcasm much?
Sarcasm? Gosh. I'm going to give you a YouTuber that I've been watching a lot lately. I just sit in my chair and I play Power Wash Simulator. I'm replaying it on the PS4 version so I can get all the trophies again. And I've been watching the last couple days Patrick H. Willems YouTube videos. He's a movie reviewer, analyst guy who doesn't necessarily spend a lot of time with like individual movies, but kind of looks at like overall themes and stuff in movie making. Like I watched one that was about it was about the movie Grand Prix, but it was also about the history of filming cars in movies and how it's been done various times.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. And I just finished one about trains in movies. And he's had another one that was like the death of the modern movie star, all kinds of really cool insight into the way movies are made. There's some insights into like how like the sausage, but also just like kind of overarching themes of like where are movies going in our modern society and why.
Okay.
And I find it very relaxing, entertaining, and informative. So that's where I've been kind of putting all my energy lately.
All right. Well, glad to hear it, Jeremy. Hey, real quick, but before we get on out of here, I do have someone who wants to give us our outro. My goddaughter Emma. So Emma, can you say it? Okay. So I have to say, and then she'll parrot it back.
Ready?
Emma, can you say "Go Royals"? Say it louder. Thank you, Emma. Appreciate it. I love her to bits. So, hey, thank you for the review, Jeremy. That is going to do it for us today on the Royals Rundown podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. We know the off season is long, the winter months are cold, and not having baseball in the fold is colder still. We try to make it enjoyable as we can. Please go ahead and give us a follow on social media. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to us. But most importantly, go check out royalsreview.com. We post the podcast up over there, so you will never miss an episode there. But whether it be the rumblings, whether it be history pieces, there's always something over at royalsreview.com. All right, Jeremy, let's go ahead and get on out of here. From all of us here, thank you for listening. And until next time, go Royals!